working for you. Live, NBC Montana Today starts right now.
We're so glad you're staying with us as we continue live at 6:30 a.m. I'm Heidi Miley. I have new updates from firefighters on the fire burning about 8 miles southeast of Missoula and new acreage for you this half hour. Also, authorities are weighing the permit for the Kalispell Warming Center. We have reaction from a public meeting. Also this half hour, the Republican National Convention is underway. We have highlights and when Senate candidate Tim Sheehy from here in Montana will be speaking today.
Well, the time is at 6:30 this morning. Air quality is going to fluctuate today for us as smoke continues to filter through western Montana. Live look right now, Hellgate Plumbing, heating and cooling weather camera overlooking Missoula towards that Miller Peak fire. We've got a hazy start to the day with a temperature at 57 in Missoula. Some of that smoke from the Miller Peak fire has made its way down towards Butte this morning, and throughout the day today, that's what we're going to see, a little bit of smoky haze across western Montana. Radar showing dry skies for western Montana, but as we move through the next couple of days, we are tracking the isolated threat of thunderstorms, which could lead to new fire starts. Your hour-by-hour forecast. Temperatures this morning, 60s and 70s through 10 a.m. We jump to 83 by lunchtime. Not a bad noon hour, but by the afternoon, we jump into the 90s. It's going to be our 10th 90-degree day in a row for the Missoula area. For Bozeman, similar forecast. Hot temperatures once we get into the afternoon, but first half of the day looking pretty comfortable. You're at 75 at 10 a.m., 80 by around lunchtime, keeping in the 80s in that 2 o'clock hour. As we move through the next several days, though, temperatures are going to inch closer to that 100-degree mark. We're tracking hot, high temperatures. Everything you need to know is 10 minutes away.
All right, thank you so much, Brooke. 8 miles southeast of Missoula and north of Florence. I'm looking at this morning operational maps for the firefighting teams, and they suggest to me that that fire has grown to at least 1,767 acres. Yesterday, the estimate was about 800. The Miller Peak fire near Missoula is pumping more smoke into the sky in this time lapse that we captured and sped up as the fire continues to grow. The Lolo National Forest says it's moving to the north and east. Excuse me. Hot temperatures and dry conditions pumped up the fire activity, and there's more worries for that. Air crews are setting in an anchor point on the southern flank near Plant Creek. Now, commanders are focusing resources to protect homes and structures in the Miller Creek drainage and to protect the communication towers up on Miller Peak. This includes the Moccasin Electronic Site, BPA power lines, a railroad, private homes, and state trust lands. Today, a Type 3 command team will transition out to what's called a complex incident management team. That's how hard this is to fight. Steep slopes, rugged terrain, and the extremely active fire behavior are making it very hard to fight this, especially on the ground. The sheriff warns current evacuation warnings can flip to orders with no prior notice since this fire is so active. The warnings do run from 14380 Upper Miller Creek Road to West Fork Schwartz Creek Road, and then from that intersection to 7018 West Fork Schwartz Creek Road. These evacuation warnings are in place, and residents and businesses are worried about what that Miller Peak fire may bring today. So one business, Happy Paws, that's a dog sitting and boarding service on Miller Creek Road in Missoula. It has suspended daycare services as workers get ready to possibly evacuate all their dogs and livestock.
Yeah, this is the first time it's been this close for us. We've, been affected by smoke, but we've never actually been in an evacuation warning before, so that was a little frightening.
If Happy Paws does need to evacuate, workers know what kennels to take the dogs to temporarily, and they will remain in contact with the pet parents. And new this morning on the 5 different fires burning north of the Tongue River Reservoir in Rosebud and Bighorn counties. We have a new map to show you this complex of fires. Look at all 5 of them here. Dry lightning started each, and I calculated up the operations map acreages off of all 5. Together, they have grown to cover some 31,102 acres. Crews and landowners have been building miles of fire lines and conducting the burnout operations. The McGee fire in particular pushed northwest toward Bernie. The Flathead Interagency Hotshots and other resources are working to connect the fire lines that people and crews have already built. Warm conditions and shifting winds have increased those fires. An evacuation warning remains in place for residents along the Tongue River Road. Now let's move on to the Horse Gulch Fire outside of Helena. It is now 10% contained, and this morning's operations map indicate this fire has grown to about 13,300 acres. Gusty winds increased the fire Sunday. Aerial crews doused 2 large spot fires outside the perimeter. Close to 600 personnel are on this fire. They've been building lines and protecting structures. Commanders have their eye on the potential for thunderstorms and say that the outflow winds could impact this fire in all directions, in all areas of the fire. The Lewis and Clark Sheriff's Office has downgraded evacuation orders to warnings, but residents should be ready to leave if these conditions change. All right, you can view photos of all of our fires. You can scan the QR code on your screen, and you can add your own photos to our gallery through NBCMontana.com/chime-in. In other Montana headlines, the Kalispell City Council is talking about the Flathead Warming Center. Directors of the Warming Center approached the city council members explaining that any allegations made against the center, they explained them and they provided documents. Some members of the community expressed agreement and disagreement both, so there's mixed reaction here over whether the council should pull the warming center's permit.
We can't just not care. We can't just pretend like they aren't people. They are people. They're people.
The Kalispell Council here will be hosting a special city council meeting tonight at 7 to vote on whether to revoke or amend the warming center's permit or take no action at all. Moving on to state issues in Helena, the Senate Select Committee of Judicial Oversight and Reform is talking about how other states evaluate judges and how district court judges deal with potential conflicts of interests and when a substitution or recusal is necessary. District Court Judge Mike Menahan was one of several officials questioned on when he considers recusal.
I think it's good to have that kind of cross-pollination to a certain extent. So I'm not sure I agree with this line of questioning that just because you were a Democrat legislator or a Republican legislator, you can't be a fair judge.
I feel like I've been away from the legislature a long enough period of time that I might have insight into the process, but I don't have a particular bias towards an outcome in any particular case.
The Montana GOP chairperson has called for Menahan's recusal from cases involving CI 128 that pro-choice proponents are trying to get on the ballot. Democrats have declined to participate in this committee, calling this a partisan attack on an independent judiciary. Now to headlines out of Butte. Police there are investigating after a man was found dead on the 1100 block of South Main yesterday. Sheriff Ed Lester says the man was found dead at about 4:30 a.m. after previously getting a serious arm injury when he broke a window at his home. The man left on foot. The cause of death is believed to be due to a loss of blood, and alcohol may be a factor too. The body is going to the state crime lab for an autopsy, and the sheriff assures that there is no threat to the public. All right, happening today in Bozeman, Montana State University will host a groundbreaking for its new indoor athletic center. The facility will be used for Bobcat football and track and field teams and be used for practice during the winter weather conditions, the winter months. The big ceremony will start at 3 at Bobcat Stadium's north end zone today. All right, Chief Meteorologist Brooke Foster is standing by live with more concerns about the heat, Brooke.
Yeah, we're definitely tracking some high temperatures this week around western Montana. In fact, many areas are going to be up around that 100-degree mark as we head into the weekend. So really expecting the hot, dry weather to last. It is 6:39 right now. You're taking a live look Into Kalispell, Sportsman Ski House weather camera. A little hazy. Air quality, though, is currently rated as good for you in the Flathead Valley. Current temperatures at 50. You jump to 63 by 8 a.m. Comfortable really through that noon hour. High temperatures in the low 80s at around lunchtime, but you're going to see a daytime high right around the 90-degree mark. Missoula, it's our Hellgate Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling weather camera looking towards the location of that Miller Peak fire. This is the vantage point that we had yesterday where that smoke plume was going up. That smoke has kind of settled in for us overnight. Air quality this morning fluctuating between a good and moderate in the Missoula area. It's unhealthy for sensitive groups at times, though, to our east. 57 right now in Missoula, 70 by 10 a.m., 82 at around lunchtime today in the Missoula area. We're going to see high temperatures in the 90s today, up around 100 degrees by tomorrow. I'll tell you how long it's going to last coming up in the morning sprint.
All right, thanks so much, Brooke. Coming up, tourism is growing in Butte. Now, one plan aims to take it even further, but it comes with a cost. And we're pulling up our live look over the Missoula Valley from our Hellgate plumbing camera because it shows that haze. We're wondering if that is smoke coming down from the Miller Peak fire there. This is our camera up at Snowball. Brooke, we'll have your day planner after the break.